Hi, my name is Cheri, and this is one of the segments to do one of the make and takes as part of our 24-hour stamping event. So if you are one of the girls that has your make and take projects packet, then you will need to pull out the one that has the dice and then all of the little pieces of strips of paper of this. So we're going to be making a little pendant, and actually you can use them for like keychains or a necklace or Christmas tree decorations, or if you have a plant or something. I think I may be sticking this one in with my little succulents, because you know I'm all about the succulents right now, and you will see one of those make an appearance tomorrow in our 24-hour live. But then for my online class that follows this, we all have an online class coming up, I'm going to be putting a similar version of one of these in a shadow box, just as a little, just like a little decoration that goes in there. So there's lots of things that you can do with them. So if you got the packet, or if you would like to make one of these at home, then the packet came with, this is the sale-a-bration paper, and it's super pretty. And I literally just hand cut little strips. So you'll want to take your little pieces out, and you have more than what you'll need. And so then these are dice that I got from Amazon, and my husband drilled holes in the number one, and you'll want to remember as you work which one has the drill in it, because that will be the hole to your birdhouse. So you can see, you'll want to just remember that, because later you'll go back and poke that hole back, so when it gets covered up with paper. And then these are just little pieces that, again, my husband, he cut all of these in whichever cutty thing he has in the garage, so they're the right size. And then they have little holes drilled in the top. So I have used the fine tip glue pen as the only adhesive on this project. If you have another glue, the liquid glue will help for hold this piece to this, but the fine tip glue dries shiny. The liquid glue kind of stays sticky, so you'll want to use this or a similar glue. If you have a, you know, one of the decoupage kind of glues is what you need for this, because you don't want the outside of it to dry sticky. So you'll need to take a piece of either this or any scrap piece of cardstock, and I've already done it because I wanted mine to be dry, and put a piece of cardstock or paper and sandwich it in between your dice and your roof, and just let that set aside. It just takes a couple minutes to dry, maybe like 5, but I wanted mine to be nice and dry. And then you also had a little clip in here, which this won't be added to the one that makes it into my shadow box, because it doesn't need to hang. But then you'll see that there's a tiny little piece in here that's been drilled, and you literally just twist this in. So I got these, the dice, and these little screw top things from Amazon. Once you get it started, then you just twist it in here. And you want to do this before you emboss your top, otherwise you'll emboss the hole shut. And it gives you a nice place to hold on to. So when he cuts them, because it goes against the grain of the wood, you will see that it looks like there's other little holes in here. That's okay. You want the one that's in the center. There's one that's drilled, and others that are just chips of where the wood kind of flakes off because it's against the grain. It kind of looks like meat when you go against the grain. And then if you know what you're going to do with it, like if you're going to wear it as a necklace, you kind of want it to go this way, because you know we all have that one bad necklace that when you wear it, it always twists sideways. Or if you're going to do it as you know, you might want to think what you're going to use it for before you have your final spin. So now we've got that on there. So I'm going to move this out of the way. And then you'll just need something to emboss on if you have an embossing tray. Otherwise, just get a paper plate like one of these. These are what we used when we did this project in Lansing on stage. Oh, and I didn't get an embossing pad. Hold on one second. Some of my stuff I've already packed up to take to Tanya's, and I'm embossing on another project, so I got packed up. But that's okay, because I have like 8 of them. So I just have to go over. So you're gonna just take the top, and you can do whatever color you want. And if you want your roof to have color to it, then you could use a colored pigment pad, or you can use a colored embossing powder, or you can put some ink on here first and then go over it with clear embossing powder. It doesn't matter. Or you can just paint your top. It doesn't even have to be metal. If you just want to paint it, or just add some ink, whatever you want. Or you can leave it natural if you want it natural. It can be wood. So this is one of those projects that you can really kind of do it however you want. But if you're going to emboss it, then just make sure that everything, it has some, as much as you can. It's a little bit difficult to get right up under there, but just cover it with that embossing ink. And then I'm just gonna go for gold. And the reason I'm doing gold is y'all got a little guitar, and these are from the Tropical Oasis. So I want my top to kind of match. I'm just gonna pour that on there. And you can be liberal with it. And this is why it's nice to have that little thing on the top, because you can hold this. Set that there. Stampin' Up! Used to have these a long time ago, and then they stopped carrying them, which was kind of sad because it's a great way to get your embossing powder back in there. And I'm just going to lay this in here. And again, I'm going to hold it. And I have just, you know, these were on the clearance rack a while ago, so I bought several of them, and they're perfect for holding for this. But it's going to be loud for just a second. Once your gun gets hot, then it will melt quickly. But you don't want to touch that little hook up here after it's been heated, because that little baby is hot. And you also don't want to like heat in between the two layers where you glued your paper together, because you can't, it will melt the glue. Take this, and again, you don't want to touch that because it's hot. Just get a nice thick coat on here, and where it's all hot, it will stick. And I'm just going to hold this one up. And on paper, we never like that bubbly thing. On this, it's kind of fun. It kind of gives it that, like little Irish cut, or kind of like an old effect. So it's kind of ripply. And a little bit of that is from the wood. And then I'm just going to sit that right there and let that dry a second. So you can see how that comes in handy, and it's going to come in handy in just a second when, if you saw my office tour, you know I have a little thing over there where I can hang my heat gun. And now just all that, where it was blowing around in there, it doesn't blow all over your table, it blows just right back in there. Just put it all back in there, and then we're done. Lid on that, because otherwise my cat's likely to hop on the table and get that. So now we just need to glue it. And this is one of those things that actually, it goes pretty fast. Give this probably 3 minutes before you touch it. So each one of these panels needs to be glued. So have a look at your papers, and you'll need to cut them, but you don't need to cut all of them. You need 5. So the 5 patterns that you like the best, but you'll just want to lay them on here in kind of any that are too big. And you could also do this before your thing's hot. But I didn't trim them all the way, because sometimes you might, like I really should have done this side, but there's a little bit of pink on both. Sometimes there's a better side to trim. Like on this one, if you trim all this, you're going to lose all the color. So trim this side. So, or you may just want some of the plain colors. So just kind of decide which side you want to show. And you need 5. Trim over here a little bit. And this paper's good. A little bit of white can show because there's white in the paper. So there's one. And I'm just going to use this side. And there's 2. This time I'm going to take it off the top. 3. A little bit off this side. And they don't have to be perfect because the glues kind of make them wet. I like the green, but I don't want to lose all the yellow. So the ones in Lansing, we used the paper from the catalog is much more abstract than this. And then I've used Christmas paper at camp. Get the scraps off there. Okay, and it's not hot anymore. So now go with which one you want to be your front. So you're gonna lose the hole. And I know there's at least one other of this tutorial on my YouTube channel. There may be more than one. So this is where you can use a brush, and that's how we did it in Lansing, and that's how we've done it at camp. But because I'm just doing one, I'm just going to use this. So you need a liberal, but you don't want it so wet that it's not going to dry. So let's go with, I think I'm going to go this one because green is one of my favorite colors. So you need to hold it here for a second. If you don't hold it long enough, then it's just going to move, but you don't have to hold it forever. Just long enough that it kind of sets itself. So just a minute. So it's one of those things that it takes a bit of patience. Here we go. And just another one. Because if you don't let it set, then when you move on to the next one and you do this one, then it's just going to move that other one that you just did. Now that I've got 2, I'm going to hold both of those. And each time then, as I add a new one, I'm going to hold on to the one that I just did. So this one should start to set, and then I'll work on the next one. And you're going to coat the whole thing at the end with some more glue. So you don't need to use too much now because it's going to get some more at the end. And if you're doing this for a class, or if you're making several of these for gifts, then we did put it in these, and that's on my other video. And we used old Wink of Stella's for the brush. And if you put the cap back on those, then you can get 2 or 3 uses out of them, staggered by time. Got that. So you can see, but if you just go immediately and don't let that set, then it's just gonna fall off, and you don't want it to fall off. So it doesn't take long, but it just takes a second of patience. And sometimes, especially if you're doing this with your friends and you're talking, you haven't really paid much attention to how much time it has sat there. The other reason it's nice to have these little plates is then when you're done, you can just let the whole thing kind of sit here. And this bottom one, when you do it, it doesn't really, the pressure of it just sitting on the plate will hold it. If your fingers start to get sticky as you go on, then sometimes this liquid glue is super sticky. It's not as bad as the green glue, but when you go to move your hand, sometimes it'll pull it off. Like that, because mine are starting to get sticky now. So now I'm going to go try to remember. I don't remember which one I picked. I think it was this green one, wasn't it? Yeah. So take your paper piercer or your and just put your hole back in there before you coat the whole thing with glue again. And then you have the birdhouse hole door back on there. Now I'm going to just take this. You want to make sure that you get all up on the edges. This is a great use. You know, we all get to like the bottom fourth of these liquid glues. And by then, a lot of times the fine tip isn't so fine tip anymore. So you can just unscrew the top for this project and use your fine tip glue, because the reason that we're using a fine tip glue for this is because it's going to dry shiny and because it's a decoupage kind of glue. So we're not necessarily using it for the fine tip aspect, because when we did it in Lansing, we had a bunch of these and they were brand new and we took the lids right off. So it's not that part that you're using. So if you have these that are old, it's the perfect time to use your old ones. Now sometimes you can start to see where that's lifting up, and that was that bottom one because I didn't let it dry as long as I did the others. So just squish it back on there. And then when you come back in an hour or so and most of it's set up, if there's any place like that that didn't stay set, just add a little bit more glue and let it have a second coat. Okay, so now while it's wet, the house is wet, take your guitar and your pearls, which you all have a little bit of some pearls in there. If you want them to be colored, by all means take a blend and color them. Or if you want to use some other embellishments that we have, you can do that too. But you want to do this while the glue is wet, even though these are sticky, self-adhesive pearls. If you're going to wear it or use it for a keychain or have it any place where it's going to get hit, the glue is just going to make sure that they stay on. So you should have 3. Oops. So I'm going to add one to each side of my house. You know, the longer this goes, the more glue everything gets on it. Your hands, your pokey thing, the plate. Oops. Over here, and I'm not real particular where they go, just wherever they land. And if you have more jewels that you want, again, it's a good way to use up extra. I'm going to put the guitar on last because it's heavy, and so I'll put another tiny bit of that. And then everybody got a little scrap of some kind of shimmery laser cut paper. So you will just need to cut yours however you want. And you can put it on the roof, you can put it on the sides, you can put it on both if your piece is big enough. But because of the way that paper comes cut, everybody just has random pieces. Because we all just get different. There's no way to get everybody the same kind of piece without spending a fortune. So this I'm going to put on my roof because it shows up really nicely on the gold. So again, just put a little layer of the glue. Some of this might run down because it doesn't stick super well to the embossing powder, but it will stick well enough to hold this piece. Here. And after this dries, I will put an up-close picture on my website so you can head over there. And then we'll show these. We're going to do like a couple of recap sessions on Saturday on our live. So if you have any questions, if you have the packet and you're making them, even if you haven't made it yet but you've watched and you want to know when you do make it, if you have a question, then make sure you ask us during the live, and that way the exact question while we're live, you can address it. Oops. Just get that on there. And then when you're done with this, just take it over. I might put my guitar up here. Yeah, no. So you'll know in your packet, you notice in your packet, because I had the Tropical Oasis, every card had one of these embellishments. So when we were left, it was the guitar. Like, well, we'll have a little Jimmy Buffett house. That was why I chose this paper, because it looked kind of tropical. And the designs are small. When you do this, you kind of want a small design. And this may not stay. This may have to dry everywhere else, and then I may have, yeah. That's kind of cute on there. I'm going to put it here. We'll see if that will set up while I'm showing you. Put your lid back on. And then one thing, because I've worked with these with people now and I've seen people use the glue, always get that little thing that sets up here on the top off, because it sits here and it starts to dry while you're doing this. Oh, come on. I don't want you to cover my door. There we go. And then stick this back on here. And make sure you don't open this part. Other people, sometimes if you open too far down, it's really hard to get those shut. So I will show you two of them. My third birdhouse is in the, I've taken the top off and it's in my picture, which I don't have here. But this is the one that we did at Christmas time, and this was with the snowman paper, and it has the puff paint, which is, you can still get the puff paint, and it has the red jewels and then the little snow embellishments. So you can start to look at all of our embellishments. The magnolia ones are the ones that are on my other one, but this just had the little snow embellishments and embossed in the white. And then here's another one embossed in clear. And then this has the bird embellishments. And then this is the paper that's currently in the sale-a-bration thing, and it's the beehive paper, which you may have some scrap beehive paper if you'd rather use that, those of you that got the kit, because you do have beehive paper for one of your other projects. And you, I mean, obviously it takes such a minute little piece of paper that you could opt to do that too. So there you go. There's your little thing, and I will add the pictures, and then if you catch us live, then you'll get to see this dry, because by then it will be dry. So there you go. There are other projects posting throughout the night, so we will catch you in the morning, 9 o'clock. See you live back on @Friends to Stamp on Facebook. Bye.